Hi there, ladies. Good afternoon. I hope everybody is warm and cozy and well wrapped up and with somebody they love. Okay, so this is a women's live mini clinic, and I do these every so often. I'm Antoinette McQueenie for anybody who doesn't know me. And what I do is a couple of days before I come on, I go and I ask the ladies in my private groups, what would you like me to talk about today? And I go with the suggestions that come up there. So what I've been asked to talk about today are emotions and how they affect the different parts in our body and how they affect our overall health. So this is great. So I've got 5 different organs to talk about. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments section. I should have a look and see have I got that ready to go. Okay. And if anybody is watching right now, let me know if you can hear me, please. The internet was a bit dodgy earlier, so hopefully it's okay now. Okay, so I'm going to get started. Every single thought that comes into our head has to go somewhere, and it has to be processed in some way, and it's everything from here down that processes that. So it's our body. Our body is really vital in this whole process, because if it didn't start moving, these thoughts come into our heads, okay? Or we're annoyed or worried or whatever. They drop down into the body and our body will deal with them as best they can. And if that didn't happen, they would stay up here and it will cause, depression and a lot of mental illness. So our bodies and our minds are working very well together. One is bringing in the thoughts, and the other is processing them. Hi, Maura. Thank you, Maura, for this suggestion. It was Maura who suggested I talk about this. I used to always talk about this during my workshops, and I think it helps people to understand where their sickness is coming from, and it also helps them to realize the importance of emotions and the importance of expressing our emotions. Our bodies will work very, very well in clearing all of these things if we are not suppressing them with denial, with alcohol, with antidepressants. Our bodies are working so hard to keep our minds healthy that we really only have to help them a little bit and try not to suppress anything. It doesn't matter if we feel angry or anxious or annoyed. That's our stuff and we are allowed to feel it, but then let it go, because it's not doing us any good at all. For example, the first one I'm going to talk about is the liver. And the liver holds on to anger and resentment and rage and frustration and irritability. The liver is a big one. I see a lot of people coming here and they have liver issues and they don't realize it. And when I say the liver holds on to anger, I don't mean that this person is suddenly going to have liver failure. I mean that the energy, we only have a certain amount of energy in our bodies, and it has been sapped up by the liver. So everything else has to compensate, and everything else is being compromised, because that energy, after it goes through the liver and goes around the rest of the body, is already compromised and depleted. So we're talking about the liver and anger in this instance, but every other organ will be affected as well. So when we get really annoyed and we hold on to it, we don't let it go, it affects the liver. And some of the physical symptoms that come on with that are headaches. And we know that our liver causes headaches because if we drink too much, we'll get a hangover, we'll get a headache. That's toxins, and alcohol is just as toxic to the liver as anger, or the other way around. Anger is just as toxic as alcohol. So anger, frustration, irritability, too much anger, shouting, roaring, expressing it all the time, or not expressing it at all, holding it all in, is just as bad. Dizziness, heartburn, high blood pressure, all caused by holding on to your resentment. Also inflammation, anywhere where there's heat and inflammation in the body, it's a pretty good bet it's been caused by an overloaded liver, i.e. anger that's not being expressed. So if you've got a lot of arthritic complaints, it is worth looking at, seeing where in your life you're holding on to issues that don't serve you anymore, because if it's causing pain and inflammation in your body, it's not doing you any good. You don't need that. You need to find a way to release it. Okay, so that is anger. Please do jump in and let me know if you've got any comments, and I'll answer them as best I can. Moving on to the lungs. The lungs, and this is all to do with the traditional Chinese medicine and Greek medicine and homeopathy. This is not recognized so much in conventional medicine, even though there are some quite forward-thinking doctors out there who have said a few similar things to me recently. So that's nice that everybody is starting to come from the same, I don't know what I'm saying, to see things in the same view. That's what it is. Okay, the lungs. The lungs are affected by disappointment and grief. And we always think grief is about when somebody dies. You know, it's the loss of somebody that we love. And that's exactly what grief is. But of course, it could be the loss of a friendship or a relationship or a pet or a job. Your favorite car breaks down. We all have different levels of what's acceptable to us. For one person, their car breaks down, they get really angry. Another person just feels so disappointed and gutted and sad about that. Okay, good woman, Maura, thank you. I'm going to come to the kidneys. Kidneys are really important, Maura. The lungs. So when we have a disappointment or a bereavement or a grief, the energy settles in the chest and in the lung area. And that can cause issues with breathing. You know, there could be impaired breathing, there could be asthma, there could be wheeziness, there could be sighing. Very often people who need grief remedies, they're sighing, and a sigh or a yawn is a way of getting more oxygen into the body. The lungs just are not functioning at 100%. Also, the lungs are paired with the stomach. So if the lungs are under functioning, then the energy that goes into the stomach is also depleted at this stage as well. I just have a message popping up there. Okay. So the stomach is all about anxiety. When we are stressed and anxious, it's our stomach that gets affected. And then you're talking about things like irritable bowel, nausea, diarrhea, constipation, inflammation in the stomach. You know, not able to digest your food properly, not able to get the best out of your food. Remedies like lycopodium are remedies for that. You know, you're eating really nutritious food, but you're not able to get the best out of it because your stomach energy is very low and very possibly caused by stress, anxiety. Maura, you asked about kidneys. The kidneys are all about fear. And when we get very frightened or very, very anxious, that fright goes directly to our kidneys. Have you ever been in a situation where you've literally wet yourself, you have been so frightened? It's because the energy just goes completely from the kidneys, the bladder, the whole urinary tract area. And you'll see this especially in kids who suddenly start bedwetting. There's always a reason for sudden bedwetting, and they mightn't know that they've had a fright or that they have gotten stressed because they might have forgotten about it. You know, maybe they had a fall. And like I said, everybody's level of acceptance is different. What's terrifying for one child is not so terrifying for another. So maybe, you know, a minor fall could be enough to set this off, sudden bedwetting. For women, of course, this is urinary incontinence, or it could be a prolapse. And I've treated women who got very bad fright over things and suddenly had a prolapse. It's just the energy goes gone. So do have a think about that. If you've got any urinary issues, if you're getting recurrent cystitis, if you have recurrent kidney infections, what's frightening you? What are you so afraid of? And what can you do to turn that around? The spleen. The spleen gets overlooked a lot, and the spleen and the stomach do work together, but the spleen is really affected by overthinking, and this is a lot of us at the moment, and it goes back to anxiety, and we're lying in bed at night, and Moya says fatigue. This is all connected, Moya. When we are over anxious, we go into adrenal fatigue, and I'm always banging on about this, so I'm not going to go on about too much tonight, or no, today, 4 o'clock today. When we're very anxious, our body starts producing adrenaline to keep us going. And then, of course, we're not able to settle down at night time, and we're overthinking. And it's just this vicious circle. Overthinking, producing adrenaline, Anxiety, 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 and it causes the spleen to just become much, much, much weaker. And then that affects our digestive system as well, because the spleen is connected to the stomach. And it also causes more overthinking. So we're overthinking, adrenaline kicks in, and then there's more overthinking afterwards. We're not able to concentrate on one particular thing. We're not able to focus. The mind is going like that. We're just not able to settle down. And that is coming about from adrenal fatigue and exhaustion and running ourselves into the ground. So how many have I covered there? I talked about the liver, the lungs, the stomach, the spleen, the kidneys. That's it. That's the 5 of them. This is something I started on last week. Well, I'm always saying this. Us women are doing way too much, and our ability to multitask, with our ability to multitask, we are shooting ourselves in the adrenals. It's not doing us any good at all. We are taking on the lion's share of the work with this crazy multitasking that we're doing, and we carry it like a badge of honor. You know, oh, I can multitask. I'm so busy. I am so busy. And we think that's a good thing. And I've done that myself, and I have compared myself to other women, and so I'm like, oh, I'm really, really busy. I'm going all the time. As if that is some bearing on how I am as a mother, how I am as a wife, as a homeopath. Being really busy is just crazy. We all need to step back and just settle down. And I was reading last week how women of my generation are doing 75% more work than our grandmothers. 75% more work. My grandmother had 14 children. She was not an idle woman. She wasn't sitting around watching daytime TV. And the thought that I could be 75% busier than her is sobering. That really made me think when I read that. And so if we are doing 75% more work every day than we should be, what is that doing to our poor bodies, to our adrenals, and to our kidneys, and to our general well-being? It's not helping. So I've been trying to come up with a way to address this, and I've been looking at my own life, because my life is not perfect either. And I have often seen a client out the door and then picked up a laundry basket and run upstairs. I have run around my house trying to do everything, because now us women are not just having babies and being at home. We are having babies, being at home, being at work, sometimes being in college as well. So we are still doing everything, but it has to be done quicker and in a much shorter time, and it's really concentrated. And this is why we have this busyness going on the whole time. And this is why we have the adrenals that have to kick in. These poor adrenals that should be only used when we have a fight or flight situation in an emergency. We are relying on them all the time just to do this extra 50 to 75% more work daily that we're all doing. It's crazy, crazy. I'm in quite a few business groups and mentoring groups, and one of the things that they say is do what you love and outsource the rest. So I have an exercise for you. I'm going to leave you with this exercise, and I was trying to do it myself before. I was doing it myself. I'm not saying I'm trying to do it myself. My daughter came out to me at the weekend and she said, we're in the Queenie Wildeses. We don't try. We either do or we don't, but we don't try. So I was doing this list myself before I came on. And so what I've been reading is, if we're doing 50 to 75% more work every day than our grandmothers were, we need to immediately drop 25% every single day just to start bringing more balance into our lives. So think about that. Where can you drop 25% of your busyness? Where can you just keep doing what you love to do? And where can you outsource the rest? And by outsourcing, I don't mean get a cleaner, even though if you can afford it, it's the best thing you can do. I mean outsource to your partner, to your children. And yeah, it will not be perfect. It won't be up to your standards at all. But that whole control thing that we have, that everything has to be perfect, has to be right, I have to do it myself, nobody else can do it as good as me, that's all coming down to our depleted kidney energy, because we're living in a state of fear and anxiety, and we are controlling every little thing in our houses because we're so frightened of what's out there. We can't control anything out there, but by God, we can control it in our houses, and we are doing. And it's done with military precision, and it's being done by us. So we sit back, write a list. What can we outsource to the kids, and what can we outsource to the husbands and the partners? What can we do less of ourselves? So for me, it has been clothes. I used to spend 2 hours every day, every Saturday, folding clothes, because it built up from the week. The laundry built up from the 2 hours it took me to fold all the clothes and then go to put them away. And I had everything folded so nicely and so neatly, and I would put them into the kids' wardrobes, and I would go back 2 hours later, and they would have gone in looking for something and pulled everything out and then thrown it back in again. So it was a complete waste of time. It was those 2 hours. It's just gone down the drain. The only person who had a very neat wardrobe or very neat chest of drawers was me. And they didn't care. And their clothes looked fine. And they put them on. So now I fold the clothes and they put them away themselves. And really the folding has gotten a lot more haphazard, because there's no point. There's just, it's fruitless activity. It's me buzzing around on this Ferris wheel doing something that's going to be completely undone in a few minutes. Okay, so that was one thing that I got rid of. Another thing that I looked at were the children's activities. Now, this is going back about 2 years. And I was so busy with kids' activities, and I was fitting clients in the morning, and the kids were home, and I was getting a healthy dinner into them. I was doing homework and then out the door to activities. So this actually brings me back onto this exercise. Start with the day or the 2 days of the week that you hate. And we all have days that we absolutely dread coming around. And it might not even be Monday, the first day of the week. It could be a different day. For me, it was Thursday. So my kids came in from school. Not only my kids. Hi, Barbara. That's great. It's ringing even more bells for me as I'm saying it, and I'm thinking of more things I can be dropping quickly. Thursdays, I worked right up until the kids came in from school, and then I had my nephew in as well, and I had them all in the door, fed, homework done, changed, and out within an hour to go to karate that none of them wanted to go to. They did not like that at all. And this was every Thursday. So I did that for a year. That was 52 days that I absolutely dreaded doing. So we dropped the karate. And that made it so much easier. And I hated doing it because I felt they have to be in this, they need to be doing this. But nobody was benefiting from it, especially not me. I was just exhausted. So start with the day, your worst day. And if you have 2 bad days, look at those. What can you get rid of? What can you stop doing? Thanks, Maura. That made my life so much easier. It was crazy. This notion I had in my head that I had to be bringing these 3 little kids. For God's sake, they were like 5, 6, 7. What did they need to be doing karate for? What did they need it? Karate is great. It's great for brain development. It's great for self-defense. But I'm hoping that at the age of 5, they don't need to be defending themselves that much, that they need a white belt or an orange belt or whatever. So those are the things I have been cutting out. And I am still doing my list here today. I'm still going through, what can I get rid of? I got a great lady in, a wonderful woman who helps me cleaning once a week. And that has just made things so much easier. She is a lot better at cleaning my house than I am. And if you can afford that, do it. If you're really, if you're working all day, no, but what would you be coming in cleaning the fridge for, cleaning the cooker for? Madness. I bet your partner isn't doing that. I bet your partner is not driving home from work thinking, I really need to clean out that fridge now. It hasn't been done in a while. And they're right. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. They are right. So I hope that is some help to you. When we lose some of this busyness and start to focus on the things that we love, that's good for us, we find our anxiety levels really go down. And a lot of women who are coming to me are doing nothing for themselves. And I said this, I think, last week. I asked many, many women, what do you do for yourself? And there's nothing. because there's no time to do anything for themselves, not even sit down and read a book for 20 minutes or you know, go to a class or meet up with friends. There is no time for them at all. So drop some of the nonsense and start making more time for ourselves. And that's, I'm talking to me as well. I'm going to do that. I am doing that. And yeah, let's focus on the things that we love to do, so that our attention and our focus is going on good stuff, not on all the crap and not on all the anxiety and all the stuff that hasn't been done. So that's it. Okay, ladies, I have been on here for 23 minutes. Have you any questions about all of that? I know there was a lot of stuff coming at you. And if there's no questions, I'm going to go. I'm going to, when I finish this, I'm going to post a link to a gorgeous video that I love. It's by Dr. Emoto, and he's done this experiment on water and how water holds on to emotion, and how when water is frozen after being exposed to different emotions, it crystallizes in different ways. And it's a very visual representation of our emotions. And it's another message coming in. It's beautiful. It's just a lovely, lovely piece. So watch that when you get a few minutes. I think it's only about 3.5 minutes long or something. I'm just going to check and see if there are any other messages here. I don't think so. Ladies, thank you all for joining me. It's lovely to see you on here. And I will be back next week, and we'll talk about something else. And if there's anything you'd like me to cover next week, then just send me a private message or stick it up here in the comments or whatever. Okay, Moya, you're very welcome. Get right in your list. Drop 25% of your busyness today. 25%, wouldn't that be brilliant? I could breathe easier just thinking about getting rid of 25% of nonsense out of my life. Okay, I'd love to hear what you're going to get rid of, what you're going to outsource to somebody else, and what you're going to let go of. Bye, ladies.